So all of these things in combination really did help me develop my confidence, basically gave me the result that I had hoped.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, it is my honor to welcome our guests, and this is one of my favorite things to do while they're here, and to want to thank them for coming and sharing their precious commodities, things I call very precious, and that is their time. 24 hours has been offered to every one of us. What we do with that 24 hours, I'm telling you, will tell me a lot about you. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It has created the individual that is before us, and it is housed in the individual that is named Dana. And we want to welcome her and thank her for coming. But that journey deposited a couple of things in her. And in order for her to give us access to it, she has to become vulnerable. And so we want to honor her for allowing us that opportunity. Dana, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's an honor. I love asking these simple questions to all my guests that show up. And as I alluded to, that we have these two journeys. The first one is the independent journey. And then the second is the interdependent journey where we serve mankind. My question to you is, how do you serve mankind? Easy question.
Profound question. How do I serve mankind? I would say that I serve mankind. The most truthful way is I try to leave every single person that I encounter with a feeling that they can see the best in themselves. That is a personal goal of mine with each person that I speak to. Always want, because we all have special traits and traits within us that make us wonderful and capable. And my goal and my hope is that everybody that communicates with me will leave with a sense of what that is within them.
That is a beautiful piece. I love it. When one steps out of the self and began to look at others and approach them as um, as namaste, that spiritual aspect that is within them. I think there's such a powerful exchange that can take place if one understands and bow to that honor of that individual. That's why I always told my kids, it doesn't matter who. It could be a bum on the street. You always treat that individual with respect because they may own the or hold the key to your life to give you that freedom that you've been seeking for many years. One of our customs here is to go back. I call it the beginning of our beginnings. And the first location that we hang out, as we are told the program is laid out for us as we become, quote unquote, independent adult. The first space that we hang out for about 18 years, 16, 18 years, some of us, is the family. At that space, we're going to learn a couple of things. Then we're going to learn about our communication skills. We're going to learn, we're going to start developing our behaviors right there. Now, those behaviors are going to start came from those beliefs that we also developed there. Our mindset and all of the wonderful things are being developed right in that nucleus. What was your family unit like?
Well, I'm an only child. So I think that right there probably can say a lot, although I don't think that it tells the story that most people think it tells. And I come from a very small family, very small meaning I don't have siblings, and one of my other cousins also doesn't have siblings. It just very very small family, and I was the only child and the youngest of that generation, if that makes sense. I'm not obviously not the youngest now, but there was a time
Yeah.
where I was the youngest one. So that family positioning determined a lot about my personality, who I became, my gifts, and also the things that I grapple with, and also my traumas. In general, very dedicated mother and father, very, very dedicated, and do things in their, own way, but definitely a lot of love within the family unit. A lot of strong personalities throughout intimate, I'm losing the word, immediate, immediate, and also extended family. A lot of very strong personalities, and all of that shaped me into who I am. But I do have to say, being an only child, even having, parents that are very committed, very dedicated to raising you and to showing you the way, I do think that in a lot of ways you learn by seeing
Hmm.
more so than by lessons passed down, if you will. I think it teaches you, or at least it had the effect on me, of becoming extremely resourceful with the way that I handle situations and the way that I go about making friends and making connections. Now, that said, I'm giving the positive aspects of what it is to be in that specific positioning. Based on my childhood, I really highly believe that the position, like only child, middle child, older child, I think this makes a massive difference, or at least it has in my life.
Yeah. Well, you put a couple of key
And it's
words
so
there,
true.
strong personality. And I know what strong personality talks about in aspects of growing up. That can rub an individual a different way when you mention strong personality, as they say, those wonderful keywords, those Freudian slips, as they say. And being in that strong personality, and you mentioned a couple other things that kind of I've been doing this for a little while. Those things come out easy for me. So here you are, you're in the midst of all of that wonderful family and strong personality. How did you show up? Your communication skills, how did it start developing when you were outside of the strong personality arena, if you will?
I like these questions a lot. I really do. I really do. I will tell you this, and I don't know if this is not an answer to the question, please let me know and I'll reframe. But one of the things that I believe is a trait that a lot of people in my family positioning share is they learn how to become decompartmentalize and become very different in every scenario. So, and it's all real aspects of one particular personality. It's not as if you're pretending to be other people. It's genuinely within you. But with each person comes out a very, very different side. So I think my communication skills developed through that because I learned each individual, there is a different language that needs to be spoken. And in order to get through to that individual, you have to speak their language, so to speak, in the sense.
Yes, I
So
get it.
yeah, so that encouraged me to develop a lot of objectivity in the way that I deal with people that I encounter in my life. Very little judgment. I'm a live and let live person. And I think that informs a lot of the way that I show up and how I communicate with people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I can understand why you became a lawyer as well. Again, I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And one personality that is very skilled at departmentalizing themselves, and I'm not going to go into that, but it
Back there.
is. Huh?
There's a
What was
lot
that?
to unpack.
Yeah, like I said, I can pull things out of the conversation. So, but I'm not going to go there because it's going to take a lot to impact that to pull out of there. So here's this girl that has been able, and it's a wonderful gift, even though, like I said, out of our trauma, we learn to, the first aspect of our trauma is survival. And you, as one that is being in from, again, from my studies and reading and interviews, I can kind of know where you're coming from. It's a wonderful gift to be able to handle and navigate through that because as a young individual, we have to figure out how do we, and in that first stage of our trauma is survival mode. So we have to figure out how to survive within this madness that is called a family and all these strong personalities. And that young individual will find some and find, and in your case, you're able to obtain the people skills as to how to navigate, how to handle extreme personalities and so forth. As you're heading towards college, as they say, going to that direction, the first, and I know your history, I've been studying for the last week, 2 weeks, but the first crossroad that we stand at as adults, heading on to create our own space, which type of study did you pick and why did you pick that field?
I picked communication. And honestly, the reason why I picked that field is because I always had aspirations to go into newscasting or hosting and some kind of television journalism, if you if you will. That was always the aspiration. So because of that, that's the route that I decided to go in my studies. And also because I thought that it would help you develop the psychological, and communicative aspects of your communication skills, of which that degree does not really offer. But
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
I swear I'm gonna have a wonderful conversation with you after we get off because I can read between the lines. So here you are, and you pick communications, but you're not there in that field as yet, but that skill will be used in life. Nothing is wasted in this life that we live in. And I tell people, I don't care what you do, it will be used. Those things, those principles that you learn are still there as you move forward in your life. As you got there and you're in school. Did you come out with your communications degree? And if you did, where did you go to after? Because you're walking through that set program. We have to go into corporate America now. So what happened in school?
So I actually didn't go straight into any type of professional, like official work. I tried to pursue making my own YouTube channel and all these things. I'm aging myself a little bit, but this was back when this was like the initial creation of these platforms, so very new, very different landscape than what it is today. And I did take some time in order to try and build that out for myself. And, in the interim, I was doing jobs here and there, acting jobs, other jobs, but I did take some time in order to try and create that platform, and also various different types of businesses as well that were all related to the platform.
So once you graduated, then you stepped into the entrepreneurial arena, which is, and I tell people the entrepreneurial arena takes people with a certain um, skill set, if you will. And it's called one of the skill set is having balls, if you if you will, because you're stepping out and you are it,
Mhm.
and you have to figure out. So, why did you pick the the podcast platform? What was it that drove you or pulled you towards that arena?
So at that time, I'm not even. This was like 2009, 10. I don't know when podcasts, came
At
to be,
nine.
but it was more like YouTube channel type of stuff. I don't think I was even aware of what a podcast was at that particular time. I mean, it just honestly a desire to communicate a message, and I think to be helpful in that way. I also just, with the caveat that I did grow up in LA. Think that I've kind of seen, and it's always been connected to entertainment. It's the
Mhm.
industry here, or at least for a very long time, it was, still is loosely. I say that, but that's sort of what I knew in a way. And also just a desire to communicate a message. And if we're going even deeper than that, I think probably at some level a desire to be seen. So for all these reasons, I also just entrepreneurship has always appealed to me, still appeals to me. It's where I feel I have the most. I don't want to use the word control, but I think just for sake of simplicity, there's a lot of creative control in it, and also immersive, which is something that I really appreciate. When that aspect is there in anything that I do, I don't like to be a bystander and just kind of performatively doing things. I just very much like to be immersed. And I think that entrepreneurship has the effect of giving you that experience.
Yeah, someone who likes to be hands-on, be able to watch all aspect of what is being done. There's a degree of it acts like a drug, if you will. I know my
Yes.
personality as well deals with that.
Yes.
So as you're moving and life happens, it's just happening. How is she doing as life is happening? Here's this young woman. She has her degree. She's taking some time. She's on YouTube. She's learning. She's watching. She's in Cali, as they say, and seeing all the beautiful folks. And how is she doing in herself, in her being, apart from all of those things that she was doing?
Terribly, truthfully. Like in hindsight, I will say that I think, I entered my days with a sense of confidence I don't think had really foundation. And life did a number on me. I mean, not in the sense I feel, it's funny. I always feel so saying that because especially at that time, there was no significant trauma or anything that was going on. And I do have to, hold space for, I know that there are people that have been through much worse. And I didn't really go through anything bad, but it wasn't at that time, like externally, but there was an interpersonal journey where I think the people around me were really breaking me down. I was in extremely unhealthy dynamics, from friendships to relationships. Those things have a tendency to just break you down and really wither your confidence away. And I think the most daunting part of it to me, looking back, I can articulate it in this way. I didn't have an inner compass or an inner voice that I trusted. So I was very swayed by what everybody did and said, in a sense. I was strong in the sense where, obviously I had my opinion and I had my desires and my, goals in life, and nobody was going to take me off that path no matter what, which was all true. But internally, um, I would take the counsel of people that I had no business taking the counsel. I'll give you an example. So with the said YouTube platform, right? I started with one concept. I love the concept. I look at it now and I can name individuals that are doing phenomenally well in that realm. I started this before started any, this is not a direct
Yeah.
comparison. I'm just saying that when I look at it, I see that potentially I could have been there. But the problem is that I never continued with one conceptual idea because I was so swayed by the messaging that I was being fed. Oh, you should do this. Oh, that's never going to work. Oh, you should do this instead. And I would listen. And instead of listening to my inner me, inner counsel, higher self, whatever you want to call it, instead of having that, seed of knowledge and self-assurance, what I would do is I would take the advice and I would run with it. So I was constantly doing. I was constantly doing. I mean, I am nothing if not ambitious and resilient, but it was based on everybody else except me. And I
Yeah.
think so that has a tendency to just, it's like trying to hang on to, I don't know, a zip line in like a very windy day or something. I don't know. I don't know where that analogy came from. I've never used it before in my life, but just it makes sense, but that's kind of what it was like. And I think very quickly, because of that, I sort of lost my way in a sense, lost my way, not in a sense where I was exposed and fell into, external, drugs, things like that. Never did things like that. But as far as, I'm entering the world, I'm this ambitious person. I have these goals. I know what I want. But somehow everybody else's opinion about where I should go, the direction I should go, is more important to me than my own.
Yeah.
So, and you apply that across the board to kind of a lot of different areas of my life. And that will explain to you the inner state of how I was doing. So I would say internally, I don't think that this appeared externally. Like when somebody would meet me, this is definitely not what I would lead with. But I think by my mid-20s, I was pretty lost. I was
Yeah.
really lost. And it took me a while to sort of find
Yeah.
myself, if you will.
When we lost and we are seeking validation, outward validation.
Yes, yeah. I guess you could put it that way, yes.
Yes, outward validation because their opinion was more important than you. And so you have to make the switch because there's no one that knows you like you. And so once we are seeking outside validation, it erodes our soul, our inner subconscious being. It erodes
Mm.
it because that's where we start spinning out and getting out of, sorts with ourselves. We could enter into depression and all these other dark spaces and hang out there because our soul we're lost. And that's the language that we can, attune to that, but that is simply because we are not getting validation from self. So talk to us as when your journey of validation to self began. What was it that caused you to enter into that space?
So this is where law school comes in. And I know it's a little odd because I just I saw it as some kind of a spiritual journey, which I really truly, this is the idea with which I entered into this schooling. I always like to tell this story. I have a friend, a very, very good friend, like a brother to me. And he started attending law school 3 years before I did. And he went to law school in San Francisco, and like I said, very close. He's like family to me. And I went there the very first, I think it was like within the first week. I don't even think his classes had started, to visit him over a weekend. Normal, we had a great time, whatever. I leave, I come back at the end of the semester, and I am met with this entirely different man. I mean, there was this element of confidence with the way that he was handling certain situations, and the way, like, and I've known this person, mind you, since ninth grade, since the first year of high school, and we just are very, very, he's like family. And I remember seeing that. And I was like, okay, well, what is the factor that has changed in this equation? He started law school. And I was like, I want that. Not I
I
want to
love
be a
that.
lawyer,
Yeah.
not I want to, do law, not I'm passionate about court and justice. No. I was just like, this is my education into like in real self-development. And I am going to do this literally as a self-development project. And that is the reason why I went to law school.
That is an absolutely beautiful approach. I've never even entered my mind that someone would approach law school as a tool to help them in personal development. So while you're there and you looked at it as a tool, as the tool, the main
Mhm.
tool, to assist you with your personal development as you're going through, well, what did that look like in your life? What did personal development in law school, as you're getting all this data about laws and different things, how did that
Yeah.
impact you and change you and began to cause you to develop yourself personally?
But the journey itself, I would say, was still internally messy. Internally. Externally, and again, probably a lot to unpack with the fact that I keep making this distinction between externally looked fine, don't worry, and then internally was a mess. Probably also gives some insight into me. But
Yeah.
but I will say that internally it was messy. Like there were, again, things going on, and I was affected, and it's a very, very difficult environment. So I think probably anybody who's been through it would say I'm insane for even
Yeah.
thinking that that's something that would be helpful, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe some people saw it in the same fashion that I did. But I will tell you, it really did have the effect that I wanted, and I started noticing that pretty early on, because one of the gifts really that I was given through this schooling and also through practice is it really taught me how to steer away from my emotion and approach things in sort of a more logical fashion. I'm not saying that this is appropriate for all circumstances, and I certainly am not saying that I'm like this in all circumstances, but I'm saying that it did develop in me the ability to detach in a healthy way and to be a lot more objective within myself. To It gives you weight. I mean, obviously it's serious subject matter, and you're learning even how to view the world. So all of these things in combination really did help me develop my confidence. Basically gave me the result that I had hoped.
And
Truly.
as you're obtaining all of that data, let me ask you this question as to your mindset, your this right here. What did you begin to notice as you're going through? And it is working as a tool to assist in your personal development, but personal development now is going to push you inward. And so you have to go in there, as all outside is always beautiful. And the work is always inside. And inside is always, in most cases, before you start on that real digging and stuff like that, is a big mess. That's how it is in everyone's life. What caused you now to begin to go in? What was it that started you to go in and to be able to change your mind as well? What was it that caused that? In what class, what incident that you can bring to mind that you think of that ushered that part of you in?
I mean, the honest answer is I don't have an answer for that. I think because I went into the schooling with a very clear idea of how I wanted to utilize it personally. And I knew when I was the school that I went to, the very first week, we do an orientation week. So we show up, there are no classes where it's kind of an introductory thing for all the people that are there, for all the incoming students. And I'm a very spiritual person. So like at that, as I'm sitting in that sort of thing, I actually heard something, like a premonition in a way, that made me understand that this is going to be even more profound. Like those years in time, not necessarily law school, but those years in time were going to be really, really fundamental and foundational for my growth in a way that's very sad. But regardless, I mean, obviously, usually it's through those types of hardships where we grow the most. But in that moment, like literally within that first, actually, maybe that actually is the answer to the question. It was within that class,
Yeah.
with that introductory class where I heard what I heard, and I knew from there, I'm like, okay, this is going to open me up
And
without a
that's
shadow of a
that's
doubt.
that perfect answer to that, because there is always a situation that causes us that boom, and it escorts us into that realm that to learn more about who we are, and to investigate that. As you graduated and you became a lawyer and stuff like that, now you're going to be dealing with all kinds of wonderful people, all personalities and different things you're going to see as a lawyer. And what type of lawyer, for those that are listening, what type of law did you study?
So in school, it's general, and then usually when you get into practice, that's sort of when you start to specialize and start to take on different types of cases. So I do primarily business and real estate litigation.
So here you are. And again, I have the amount of lawyer friends I tell you, and some of my best party days is with lawyers. I know how bad you
Yeah.
guys are.
I'm not
Uh,
surprised.
you're getting an opportunity to see people, and some of us in our dark places and maybe dealing with real estate and all this stuff. And you are now graduated. You've learned some about who you are as an individual. You begin to trust you as you are doing this type of work. How did you begin your understanding, if you will? Again, you learn all these things and your personal development, your understanding of others. How did that started to blossom, if you will, as you are now an observer that is able to watch others and learn from that?
I mean, I think that my understanding of others really came through the experiences that occurred outside. So everything that we've discussed up until this point, right? So it's like especially during the formative sort of like when I was in law school and I said that journey and all that stuff, there was a tremendous amount of loss that occurred in my life when I was there. And by that I mean actual deaths in immediate family. My dad, a person that I considered like a second dad, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, I mean, all within the span. So again, opening me up, making me very sensitive, teaching me how to deal with people by the way that I learned how to deal with myself. And so even though this is not directly related in any way, shape, or form to a lawyer's work, or I mean, most people's work directly, I do think that these are the skills, on a human level that you bring to what you do. And I think that these are the experiences in life that build characteristics like resilience, like understanding, like, different types of characters traits that actually are directly transferable to some very specific skill sets in ways that are really beneficial even to the bottom line, honestly, right? So you bring all of that in, but the way that I think honed in people skills and just understanding how to deal and navigate within the specific profession and the skills that I developed, it was honestly by watching people who and I still think are wonderful at what they do and that I was lucky enough to have access to. So, I think, especially looking back at myself when I was younger, there's a real ability to understand where to look outward and where to seek inward. So where before that was not there at all. Now I feel like I have a very good understanding of that and ability to use that.
As one that is acquainted, if you will, with grief,
Mm.
what tools did you bring into your life? You know, some people meditate, you have yoga, you have journaling, you have all these different tools. What was it that you brought into your space, your life, to assist you? Because grief, multiple grief like that you described, is going to teach you some stuff. And the only way someone that I know of, I'm reading the Vedas and the I Ching and the Bible and all these books out there and many others, that one grows is through hardship or tribulation, if you will. And resilience would exist without suffering. What did you bring into your life to help you to become resilient?
So, I do have a meditation practice, but I will say that there was one specific thing that I believe was brought into my life specifically to help me through that time period. It's the name of a book. Am I allowed to
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when I was in, I'm just gonna backtrack and say a little story because I do think this is kind of cool. So like 2017, which is my second year of law school, or my first going into my second, I was following this influencer and creator online that would post all these very inspirational type of stuff. And I mean, you see this all the time. I do a fair share of that myself, but sometimes you resonate, sometimes you don't. I really resonated with her content at this time. So I was very into it. And she had announced that she was going to open a virtual book club. And I was like, I was waiting for this the way that somebody waits for like a new, I don't know, new iPhone or something. Like I was so excited about
Yeah.
joining this virtual book club. And book club opens and she recommends the first book. And that book was Remember, the Handbook for Human Evolution.
Mhm.
And I just automatically went, I bought this book and I started to read it. And I remember when I was reading through, I mean, the first few chapters, I was like, it struck me as so out there. And I'm not that like I understand and speak some pretty out there concepts or what people would constitute out there. Like there's not really much that makes me be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is weird. I'm not that way. I didn't even think it was weird. I'm just like, this is a little too out there, for me. But there was something that told me to keep going, keep going, keep going. It just wouldn't let me put it down. And I'm not the type, like, I have no problem. If I'm not into it, I'll just put it down and move away. Like, I'm not going to finish the book. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to do that,
Yeah.
But something was just guiding me to keep going. And I was just continuously reading. And I remember this one day, I was sort of like laying down and reading this book. And I got this feeling of the way that I describe it is like rose quartz energy. Like it felt
Mhm.
like it was like emanating. Like it was almost like walking into a warm like beach, like on the
Yeah.
very warm sand on like with this nice warm wind and this just very calm atmosphere. That's how it felt all over. And I heard that same like voice, okay, that basically said to me, everything is going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And that's when I recognized that what I was reading was truth. And it was, for me, the very first experience, tangible experience I had of what truth is. Now, that said, I know that not everybody will resonate with the text. And I think that if you read it, it's either you completely understand it or you just don't really resonate with it. And maybe it just not for you, not at this time. But for me, it was an understanding that what I'm reading is absolutely the truth. The book was about life and death. That's what it was
Yeah.
about, to put it in a
Okay.
nutshell. And I didn't, sorry, I
No,
was
go
just
ahead.
going to
Go ahead.
say, I didn't know it at that time, but it was preparing me for the
Hmm.
loss that I was about to experience.
Yeah.
So that first death that I speak of occurred not even a year after I'd read that book. I knew, and especially when it happened, I'm like, that's what it was for. That's what it was for when I was reading the book. Cause and then now that it doesn't seem out there at all to me. I actually should go back and reread it, but it was
So that was
fantastic
the
book. I
question
recommend it.
I was gonna ask you, because usually in life we are especially when we're on the journey, even though sometimes we are there, but that inner voice knows they have data. And I tell people the subconscious being or the soul has access to another library that we don't have access to. And only they are able to allow us the information. They'll warn us through our intuition. We'll get a feeling, someone will say. We'll have a premonition. All these things is that subconscious being getting info from that library and trying to bring it to your attention through the natural form, our body and so forth. And so when these things happen, it's usually in preparation of. So here you are. You have gotten so much. You've learned so much. You have understand grief. You brought the tools, your meditation practice, all these wonderful things. And I tell people, find what works for you and do it. That's all this is.
Mm.
As you are working and the onset, you said that your intention when you work with people and you laid it out. With your knowledge, your current knowledge as to what you have gained through life, let me ask you this question. You have a mic in your hand right now, and that mic is connected to every single 8+ billion people on the planet. What would you say to us? What advice would you give to us as one that has walked your path and have gained knowledge, gained insight, and is now at a space by which you can serve to others? What would that be?
That is a really profound and wonderful question. And I am going to think about this for many, many days to come. But I do think that without giving it much thought, the one thing that comes to me really is know thyself. And the reason that I say that is because I fundamentally believe that the most important thing or the most important knowledge that you have in this life is the knowledge of self, your shortcomings, your gifts, where you can improve, where you can improve, but you don't want to improve, what you're willing to dedicate your time to, your likes, your dislikes, your fundamental goals, your aspirations, like what you want your life to look like. All of this knowledge, if you have it within yourself, you have that inner compass that I was talking about before that will guide you to, I hate good and bad. I do not like using the words good and bad, but I just making the making decisions for yourself in a way that's based on that, I think fundamentally is the most rewarding thing. I mean, I always say this, like I don't like to sugarcoat or make myself feel better about certain things. I do have regrets about certain decisions that I made. Going back to what we were talking about before, the whole I switched topics around a million times over and never really followed through with one thing when I was talking about the YouTube channel. So it wasn't for lack of trying, it was just trying without any consistency or follow through, right? There are these types of decisions, for example, I regret deeply. I acknowledge that regret. And so for me, though, it informs that, having that knowledge of self and understanding of self and fundamentally, all of these things that I just spoke of, what you want, what you don't want, what you want your life to look like, your goals, et cetera, et cetera. Like this is the great, like if you know yourself, you know how to work with yourself. You know how to work with yourself, you know how to work with others. You know how to get what you want from life. That's fundamentally what I believe. So I think I could sit here and come up with lofty messages all day long, for sure. And they will be no less true than what I just said. But I think fundamentally, if I were to impart one piece of advice on anybody, it would just be that. And I think I will get to my deathbed and it will still be that. I'm fairly convinced about that.
Guys, I'm going to leave it at that. And we're going to provide all of her links. You've got to get into her space. That's how one learns. When one goes through a journey, they have been entrusted with certain things. Truth, as they say. There's a lot of facts out there, and facts will always change. But truth is truth. It is what it is. And one has to become an adult in our mind, if there's such a word, as far as adult mind. But we have to become grown up to be able to accept truth and leave our facts behind. And you can only do that by excavating you. Because once you do, you will trust yourself. And we call that in the realm that we have here in religion, they call that faith. But that's what it is. It is a belief in one's self, in one's inner compass, if you will. Trust yourself, guys. And again, we're going to provide all of her links so you guys can get into her space, get in and learn from her. I want to thank you so much, Dan, for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. This has been a good one. I didn't bruise you up much.
I had a wonderful time, Ken. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for the conversation. Truly.
Thank you. I was trying to be kind to you. I had some interviews and people tell me all kinds of stuff. Like after they're finished, after I'm
Yeah,
finished with
really?
them, they feel as if they're on a couch and all this kind of stuff. And so when you were talking about it, the only words that were coming to me, the picture that I got was narcissistic folks and I was trying so hard not to expose your sins, girl, because I knew
That's so
how
funny.
growing up in a narcissistic home, what happens to you and how you have to learn to navigate that minefield, if you will.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't want to open a can of worms, so I just let that go.
Very insightful. I really like your format. I actually listened to some episodes definitely before I came on. But this was really cool. I was really looking forward to this.
Thank you so much. And like I said, I've been listening to you for about a week or 2 weeks now, 2 weeks, and following you on
You know
TikTok.
everything you need to know about Diddy?
Yeah, he's like you said, he's going away. It's just a matter of what and how long. But that's all we're waiting for.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a goner, you know.
Yep. 5
But
years.
these guys,
You know.
these guys have money. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. You never know. So, but thank you so much. I think you
Thank
have
you.
to leave your computer on for just a minute. You're at 99%. But this has been fun. I
Yes.
really did. I didn't
Yeah, I
want to go
really
in, but while you're talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, she's the poor kid. She's with these narcissistic family. So I was like, let me leave her alone because she was already traumatized. She don't need any
that's
more coming
funny.
from me, man.
That's insightful.
But yeah, I tell you, I have learned to read through the lines, if you will. And you were just like me. I got involved with a couple of narcissistic relationships, and I'm pretty familiar with the piece that happens in there.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I wouldn't even couch it. In the past would not even couch it as that. I think that there's certainly traits, especially within the dynamics that I was met with in my early 20s. I mean, I was just by the time I got to like 25, I was just like a shell of myself, to be honest with you. And like I said, it was
Yeah.
nothing. I feel almost because there's so many things that people just go through, battling like addiction, whatever. Like, I never had any of that, but it was just like these individuals that I was encountering that were just pulling me left and right and just leaving me in shreds
Yeah.
internally. And it just did such a number on me. Like even when I was, outside of
But
law school, I was
you know where
yeah.
that came from, Dana, is because of your house. Narcissistic, one of the things that they do is cause you to shrink. And so when you were out in the field, even though you were progressive, you saw way before that this particular thing that you felt was correct. But when
Yeah.
others came, because you had been programmed by
Yeah.
narcissistic people, you were able, you just surrendered. You just surrendered. That's
Yeah.
all.
You're actually correct on that. And then I have to, I mean, I'm still it's funny because it's been I don't even know how many years decades down the line, and that's still the goal. I mean, that's literally the point of the TikTok and everything is just to build what I was trying to build in 2010,
Yeah.
basically. So it's just, it's just kind of crazy where it's like you have that inner compass and I think you're golden, you know.
Yeah. Do what
I
you
think
love,
you're golden.
man. You do what you
Yeah.
love. I taught my kids, find your passion and be passionate about it. Allow
Yeah.
yourself to to enjoy, and don't worry about money and all that stuff. It'll happen,
Yeah.
because it's designed to manifest that way. So just enjoy, and you will be guided. But the narcissistic relationship, I'm actually working on a couple of books right now dealing with narcissistic folks. But
Hmm.
I'm going from the beginning of time to all the way to today, and pulling out all of the narcissistic individuals throughout history, and talk about them. But I also am looking at the world when we have narcissistic leadership. What did their area of control look like? And man,
That's fascinating.
the world is in some serious trouble, because history proves that when a narcissistic leader is in charge, all of the things, Stalin, Hitler, Roman, all those guys, Nero. I'm going all the way back. And actually, I'm even going before that. I'm going to prehistoric time. I'm starting with the first known documented individual that was recorded as a narcissist. I'm working from
Sad.
religion to myths, everything. And the first individual was Lucifer. And so I'm
Okay.
coming from there, incorporating the religious aspect with world history and normal stuff, and coming all the way to today, and how all of social media is designed, the algorithm is designed to create narcissists. And so it's a fascinating,
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind in it. It's like a drug, and I can't wait. I'll
Are
probably
you
be ready next year.
significantly completed it, or is it still work in
Almost finished.
progress?
Almost finished.
Amazing. Amazing.
Almost finished. I'll send it to you
Yeah.
so you
Well,
can look at it, so you can
yeah,
see it
please
before I
do. I would
publish it.
love to.
You
That
know,
sounds fascinating.
I'll have you proof it for me. Just take a look and tell me
I'd
what
love
you
to.
think.
Why not?
Because I think I just came out of a narcissistic relationship, even though I've been doing this thing and on
Yeah.
the path of self-love and whatever. There was an aspect of me that I did not know was there, and she took advantage of it. And while I was in it, I recognized what was going on. I was like, holy
Yeah.
cow, you know,
Like I have
and
to
I was
go.
able to heal. So, and that now sparked me to go back in and study and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it'll get you in interesting ways as well. I mean, it's not just that textbook way that things are written. There's just
yeah,
some more sort of, I would say, more subtle, and because it's more subtle, more
yes,
nefarious ways that
yes.
would not even be categorized as what you're saying. But if you've experienced it, then you know what it is.
Yeah. So I'm doing it from all aspects. I'm bringing in the slightest thing, sexual narcissism, everything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull all these different aspects of narcissism and put it into
Hmm.
this book, because some people just use sexual narcissism. Some people are skilled in this part of narcissism, the malignant, all the different types. I went and studied all the different types and bringing them in one location, and I'm tying it to world leaders and people around us, society, and to show examples of and so forth. And I've been studying the social media platform as well, and all the algorithms. Everyone, you see these girls taking pictures at 5 in the morning. When I was in Vietnam on the beach, dressed to the T at 5 in the morning. Who is up at 5 in the morning taking selfies and posting, and you see them putting it, and the algorithm is programming them to become narcissists.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
It's like, you
going to
know
be
what
a
it's
mess.
like? It's like Frankenstein
Yeah.
in a way.
Yes.
I think like that's probably the most relevant like novel to our modern time when you think about it. Man creates beast, and you know what happens next basically. Yeah, but it's almost like, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, even though I love all these technologies, I really, really do. I definitely see a huge benefit. I mean, like, look, it's because of social media that we were able to connect,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's otherwise, I mean, maybe we would have met, but probably not today. I mean,
Yes.
like so,
Yeah.
or not like so it's I will say that I think that that's almost what it's like. It's like you've created something that's ultimately gonna maybe destroy you. So I think that's one of the ways I look at social media. I mean, I draw a lot of parallels to Frankenstein. I mean, really,
Yeah. When
so
I'm going to send this to you, and I'm
yeah,
getting there.
please do.
And I'll send it to you so you can look at it and tell me what you
Yeah,
think.
please do. Please. You have my email, right? Yeah. You've been
Yes.
emailing me okay, perfect. Yeah. Just
Yes.
communicate with me anytime on there. Or at
Okay.
any
Awesome.
really. I'm saying if you're going to send something through, it's probably
Yeah,
email's the
I
best.
definitely will. And I'll keep looking at you on TikTok. I'll follow you right there and
Thank you. I
I'll
appreciate
learn
it.
more.
I'll follow you
All
back
right.
right now.
All right. Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.